This video is to help you with number 6 on CR 23. Number 6 involves rounding of decimals. And I've actually put two examples in. So I'm going to look at the first example. The train traveled exactly 72.8316 miles. Round 72.8316 to the nearest hundredth. Okay, first of all, if we're working with to the nearest hundredth, what I'd do is I'd underline the hundredths place, just to know what place I have to round to. The nice thing about rounding to the nearest hundredths place, it's very similar to our money system. This would be asking yourself, is 72.8316 closer to $72.83 or $72.84? And if we want to round to the nearest hundredths place, we really only need to write the number out to the nearest, to the thousandths place. So I'm going to go ahead and write this number out just to the thousandths place. So it's 72.831. I don't even have to consider that number in the 10,000ths place if I have to just round to the nearest hundredth. I only have to consider out to the thousandths place. And so the question here, is this closer to $72.83 or $72.84? Some of you may right now say, oh, that's closer to $72.83 or 72.83 rounded to the nearest hundredth. Now they're talking miles. I like to think of it as money just to make my life easier. But if you're struggling to decide whether this is closer to 72.83 or 72.84, what you might want to use is a vertical number line. On your vertical number line, you're trying to decide, is this number closer to 72.83 or 72.84? If you want, without changing the value, I could put a 0 in the thousands place for each of these. Won't change the value of the numbers at all, but it will help me see what number is directly between 72.830 and 72.840. Well, right in between 830 and 840 would be 835, so that would be 72.835. Now the big question is 72.831. Would it fall between these two values or these two values? Well, if I look here, if this is 72.830, there's 72.831, 72.832, 72.833, 72.834, 72.835, 72.836, 72.837, 72.838, 72.839, and then 72.840. So if I want to look, where does this number fall? Oh gosh, this number's way down here, 72.831. It's a whole lot closer to 72.830 than it is to 72.840. So if we're rounding to the nearest hundredths place, we would simply say 72.83. And then I'll do the exact same thing with the next example. Now they're talking about a billboard. It says a billboard is exactly 78.9473 feet wide. Round 48.9473 wide. Round 48.9473 to the nearest hundredth. Again, I love when they ask me to go to the nearest hundredth because really it just makes me think of money. Also, if I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth, I don't even have to consider this 10,000ths place. It won't affect me at all. You just have to go out to the thousands place when you're rounding to the nearest hundredth. You can write it in a place value chart if that's helpful. 48.947. Again, as you know, I like to think of it as money, so what I'm asking myself, is this number closer to $48.94 or $48.95? Some of you will look at this number and immediately say, oh gosh, that would be closer to $48.95 So you'd write 48.95. And it's in feet in the problem. So you would round that number to 48.95. If you look at this number and you're like, gosh, I really don't know whether this is closer to 48.94 or 48.95, you could always draw a vertical number line. And again, if you need to add a 0 out in the thousands place, you can do that so that you can easily see what's right between 940 and 950. Right in between there would be 945. Then the big question is 48.947 in between these two numbers? If so, we would round it up. Or is it in between these two numbers? If so, we would round it down. So let's take a look. Here is 48.940. That would be 48.941, 48.942, 48.943, 48.945. 48.945, 48.946, 48.947, 48.948, 48.949, and then 48.950. Where's 48.947? Oh, it falls right about here, 48.947. It's between these two values, which means we would round it up to 48.95. Round it to the nearest hundredths place. I hope that's helpful.